lovely. I have another crack that wants fixing. Just fading off again at the back of the radiator. So first of all, to make life easier, I'm going to remove the thermostat. It's important that you open it up fully. Grip that ring at the bottom and undo it. Gives me a bit more room there. So just the last bit of cork wants coming out here. There's a big void at the back there. Okay, so that's all that out. Now I can just clean up this top edge, because I know that there'll be cork along this edge as well. I'll just carefully remove what there is there. Now I can just run along the top edge. So there's a crack round here. I'm just going to sand that edge. As soon as I see the bare wood there, that's okay. When you're taking this paint off, always remember that the grain will sit one way. So if it starts to fur up, come back the other way. But this is okay, I'm going with the grain here. sand now. Now I can just blow as much dust out as possible. Then with the bin primer, treat any wood, any burr, timber. Whilst this primer's drying, either move on and treat the other cracks, get them to this stage and start to prime them, or go and make a brew. This primer's dry now. But at this stage you may think, great, I'll get my caulk, I'll start to fill this gap. No, there's two things that need doing yet. First one, the plasterwork, the brickwork behind here will be dusty, porous, it needs sealing. Also, there'll be movement in this. I've got some diluted PVA in there. Just get the pressure up. A damp cloth. Now I can just wet this in, seal them, all the dust. Bit down this crack here. Okay. Now the movement. We'll just look at the movement there. And where it runs into the architrave as well. So any shock, when this door's shut, travelling through, it'll be constantly cracking anything out that you put here. So, fixing it. When it comes to fixing in, you may think, great, get the big boys' toys out, drill a hole, and using a fixing like this, where you literally pop it in the hole, knock it in, and then screw it up. Well, this has already been done. This property is about 100 years old. So already, along the skirting board, this is hard wall. Behind here, they would have had to have put blocks in, wooden blocks, so they can fix into it. So here, if I just get me magnet and put it on there, so that's on the bottom nail. Just above it, there's another one. Just above it again, there's another. There's 3 nails holding this point here. A bit further along, they go off again. Because this skirting board has already been levelled, then if you do try fixing into this top to secure it, you could split the wood. You're forcing it over. Like I say, this is hard wall, so there's wooden blocks behind here. If this was a dry wall, you'd have studding coming down, which nowadays, more than likely, nail gun, they'd fire into it. If it's floating on the top, you're going to get movement again the same. So again, you could try fixing it with screws, you could be pulling it out of position. You don't know how it's been set behind. You could take the skirting board off and go through a big process, but really it is a lot of mauling around. So like architraves, I'll show you now the cracking on these. Just put this magnet on that nail there So this piece of architrave that's stuck on, the door jamb sits behind here, and that's the only area where they can nail into. So the rest of this is floating. If you do start getting cracks on that other side, then that's the reason. This area is floating. It's not packed behind. Also, you have to take into account that when these architraves and skirtings are put in, that the plasterwork is finished. So again, if nothing is quite level, the skirting board can be tight in areas and pulling away in bits. So over time it will loosen itself. The shock, doors shutting, vacuum cleaners hitting skirting boards. I'll put a bit of masking tape down in this corner, and I've left some of the filler in down near the bottom. So cover this up. I'll just run a piece of tape along the top here, some low masking tape. This is going to get painted, but still, just makes it a bit cleaner. Just use my duster brush to ensure that it's got a nice seal along that edge. Now I'm ready for the foam. So shuck up, push the nozzle down the back and start to fill. I've got the nozzle about half an inch to an inch down the back. Okay, now I can leave that to cure. While that foam's drying, tuck into this egg banjo. Customer said, do you want a piece of toast? Wow, egg as well. Proper. Now this is dry, I can remove it. So just freeing it from off that tape. And then just run along that top edge of the skirting board. Now I can just sand it back. It's now at this stage, after you've cleaned it all back, sanded it and dusted it off, that if you want to, you can use your caulk to fill this. but I'm not going to. I'll just put some on here. I'm going to do something different with this. I'll just leave that there. Take a look at this now before I start to fill it. Absolutely no movement whatsoever there. And the same in this corner. Solid. So that foam now is going to act like a shock absorber. Now with the filler that I've mixed up, I've put some paint in this. Just white emulsion paint, but it's a scrubbable paint. Really good hard wearing paint. That'll just stop absorption when I paint this. So now I can just start to fill this. So just like filling a hole on a flat surface, whether it be on wood or on a wall, this filler shouldn't go anywhere, it shouldn't crack at all. There's no movement anymore, the movement has been took away. Again, leaving that tape on, just easier to clean. I'll get this first lot in, I'll let it go off a bit, and then I'll come over it again with a bit more. As soon as this filler's hard enough, then I can go on with another layer. And with a damp cloth, if need be, just square up that edge a bit. And then before this dries any more, just remove this tape. Well, it's not going to be long and that'll be ready for painting. Whereas this, which I put out before I started doing the filling, is still wet. So I'm not going to be able to paint, or you wouldn't be able to put paint near that, not for a good while yet, especially oil paint. It's now ready for painting, the wall is. I'll get this done first. Now, the main reason why I started to use foam over caulk was that one particular job I did, staircase, I was asked to sort of crack out on the staircase while painting it, so I used caulk. And then about 12 months later I was asked to go back and do another room, and when I was there I was asked, can you do that crack again? That crack's come back. So it annoyed me really, because I thought I'd solved it. So I did the same, I raked it all out, sealed all the plasterwork, and then went to get some more caulk. This time I decided to use a super flexible caulk. And then again I was asked to go back and do another room, and when I arrived I was told that that crack's come back, so I went to have another look at it. But while I'd been away and over the time, I'd come across foam and I'd started using foam, because the results, everything was getting better and quicker. I used it on the staircase. I've never had a problem since. Every time I've been back to the other rooms, it's just never come back. Okay, so I'll let this go off now, and then I can paint this skirting board. So I can go and have a cup of tea and come back to that. Well, that paint's dry now. Now with a piece of fine sandpaper, just rub along that top edge, only lightly. Now I can coat this up. That's what I'm using. The satin finish, water based, so it'll go off pretty quick. There really is a quick way of doing this. I mean, getting out the caulk and just running along with the caulk, you may think is quick, but it's not going to last. Especially if there's movement. And then if you're drilling into this, you've only got holes to fill anyway. Really, this is the best way of doing it. So now the only thing to do is put this thermostat back. Now if you remember, I said open it up fully. Well, that is because inside there's a small pin. So if I open this up, you can see the pin inside. Leaving it that way, it'll be harder to get that back on, because you have to push this valve down. So having it all the way open gives you more room, it's easier. So arrow to the front, just put that in position on top and just screw that on. It should go very easily, it shouldn't be a problem. If it's too hard to get on, stop, because you could be cross-threading this. But that's okay. I'll open it up to where it was and I can leave it. All of that, still a bit tacky. That's still wet.